Imagine a company so powerful that it controls the water you drink, the chocolate you eat, and the formula you feed your baby. A company so influential that its actions have been linked to infant deaths, environmental destruction, and the exploitation of the world's poorest communities. Yet it's a name you've likely trusted your whole life, Nestlé. But behind this household name lies a dark and complex history, a history of scandal, deception, and relentless pursuit of profit at all costs. Chapter 1. The Birth of a Giant, From Milk to Empire. Nestlé's story begins in 1867 when a German pharmacist, Henry Nestle, formulated an infant food product that could replace breast milk. At the time, malnutrition and high infant mortality rates plagued Europe, and Nestlé's product seemed like a godsend. With a combination of wheat flour, cow's milk, and sugar, he saved the life of a premature baby. His success ignited demand, and soon, Nestlé was exporting his infant formula across the continent. What started as a small-scale operation quickly grew into something far greater. By the turn of the 20th century, Nestlé had become a major player in the global food industry, producing condensed milk and chocolate products. But it was the company's push into infant formula during the mid-1900s that would change the course of history, both for the company and for millions of mothers and babies worldwide. Chapter 2. The Formula Scandal. Nestlé was no longer content with its dominance in Europe and North America. It eyed the developing world, where access to clean water and proper nutrition was scarce. The company aggressively marketed its infant formula to new mothers in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. But there was a dark twist. The mothers who were encouraged to use formula often lacked access to the clean water necessary to safely mix it. In a sinister play of deception, Nestlé's marketing teams were accused of dressing up as nurses in these regions, providing samples of infant formula and convincing mothers that it was superior to breast milk. Once the mother's breast milk dried up, they became dependent on the formula. The result? Babies suffered from malnutrition and infections due to unsafe water supplies. The scandal exploded when in the 1970s, the Nestlé boycott took hold. Health organizations and activists accused Nestlé of contributing to infant deaths and pushing a product in regions where breastfeeding was the safer and more sustainable option. Despite the scandal, Nestlé's infant formula division was incredibly profitable. By the 1980s, the company was earning over $1 billion annually from infant formula sales, a significant portion of its total revenue. The boycott dented the company's reputation, but not its bottom line. The formula business remains a cornerstone of Nestlé's operations today, generating $15 billion annually as of the 2020s. Nestlé continues to hold a 22% market share in the global baby formula industry, but the financial success came at a cost. The company's persistent scandals in the infant formula market have led to reputational losses and costly legal settlements, although Nestlé has managed to avoid significant financial damage by carefully navigating public relations and marketing. You would think that a company embroiled in such controversy would change its ways, but Nestlé was just getting started. The infant formula scandal, though devastating, barely dented the company's profits. By the 1980s, Nestlé was one of the largest food conglomerates in the world, with products in virtually every household, from chocolates like Kit Kat and Smarties to coffee giants like Nescafé. But the controversies didn't stop there. Water, something so basic that it's a human right, would become Nestlé's next battleground. Chapter 3. Privatizing the world's water. In the early 2000s, Nestlé made a bold move. It began to buy up water sources around the world. The company was already selling bottled water under brands like Poland Spring, Perrier, and Pure Life, but it wanted more. Nestlé started securing rights to groundwater sources in remote regions of North America and Africa, sometimes for pennies on the gallon. The backlash was swift. Communities protested, claiming that Nestlé was draining aquifers and leaving locals without sufficient access to clean water. In places like Michigan, where Nestlé extracted millions of gallons while residents suffered from contaminated municipal supplies, the outrage was palpable. But the company continued to deny any wrongdoing, arguing that its operations were fully compliant with local laws. Nestlé's CEO at the time, Peter Brabeck-Letmathe, even went so far as to argue that water should not be seen as a human right, but as a commodity. His statement sparked global outrage and further cemented Nestlé's image as a company that would do anything for profit. Nestlé's water division, despite protests and calls for boycotts, became one of the company's most profitable sectors. By 2019, the company was making $7.8 billion annually from its bottled water business alone. Yet the backlash began to affect Nestlé's bottom line as consumer preferences shifted. Growing concerns over single-use plastics and water privatization led to declining sales in North America. In 2021, under increasing pressure from environmental activists and local communities, Nestlé sold much of its North American water division for $4.3 billion, signaling an exit from the most controversial part of its business. But even this move was seen as more of a public relations ploy than a moral shift. After all, Nestlé still retains control over several lucrative international water brands, continuing its exploitation of global water resources. If Nestlé's infant formula scandal targeted the most vulnerable humans, its bottled water empire exploited the planet itself. As the company's profits soared, environmentalists grew more vocal, accusing Nestlé of damaging ecosystems, especially in drought-prone regions. Yet despite the protests, Nestlé's water division remained a cash cow, pulling in billions of dollars in annual revenue. But what price would the world pay for that? Chapter 4. The Dark Side of Sweet Profits. While the world was growing aware of Nestlé's aggressive water policies, another controversy was simmering in the background, one that would strike at the heart of one of its most beloved products: chocolate. Behind the glossy packaging of Kit Kat, Crunch, and Butterfinger was a hidden, horrific truth: child labor. Since the 1990s, Nestlé had been sourcing a significant amount of its cocoa from West African countries like Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, where child labor and even slavery were rampant in the cocoa industry. Children as young as 10 were forced to work long hours in dangerous conditions for little or no pay, harvesting the cocoa that Nestlé used to make its popular chocolate products. The issue came to a head in the early 2000s when lawsuits were filed against Nestlé, accusing the company of profiting from child labor. Nestlé denied the accusations, claiming it was unaware of the practices on the ground, but investigative reports and documentaries revealed a different story, one of complicity and negligence. Despite promises to clean up its supply chain, the problem persists today. Human rights organizations continue to accuse Nestlé of failing to live up to its commitments to end child labor in the cocoa industry. Chocolate has always been a cornerstone of Nestlé's portfolio. By the 2000s and 20s, the company's confectionery division, which includes brands like Kit Kat, Milky Bar, and Smarties, was pulling in over $8 billion annually. Despite the child labor controversies, sales of chocolate products have remained strong, showing how Nestlé has successfully insulated itself from scandal. However, the company has faced increasing pressure from consumers who demand ethically sourced products. Nestlé has pledged to invest $1.2 billion by 2030 to improve sustainability and tackle child labor issues in its cocoa supply chain, but critics remain skeptical of its actual commitment to change. Chapter 5. Profits versus losses. As Nestlé battled scandals, it also kept raking in profits. In 2023 alone, Nestlé reported over $104 billion in revenue, making it one of the most profitable companies in the food industry. Its water division, despite the controversy, remained one of the most lucrative parts of its portfolio until the company sold it in 2021 amidst pressure from activists and declining public opinion. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. In 2018, Nestlé faced losses in its North American bottled water business as consumers became more environmentally conscious, choosing alternatives to single-use plastic bottles. At the same time, the rise of plant-based and health-conscious diets saw a dip in its processed food sales, leading the company to pivot to newer markets like vegan alternatives and health supplements. Even as its reputation suffered and markets changed, Nestlé kept growing. The company made major acquisitions in the health and wellness sector, including buying the majority stake in Atrium Innovations and deals in the pharmaceuticals space, signaling its intention to dominate yet another industry. Nestlé has been aggressively expanding its health and nutrition portfolio. In 2017, the company acquired Atrium Innovations, a leader in nutritional supplements, for $2.3 billion. This was part of a larger strategy to pivot toward health and wellness products, which is becoming a more profitable and socially acceptable industry. The health sciences division of Nestle, including medical nutrition and supplements, now accounts for nearly $18 billion in annual revenue, solidifying its position in the global health market. But one question remains: can Nestle ever shake its dark past? Or will it always be remembered as the company that put profits before people? Chapter 6. A legacy built on controversy. Nestle's story is far from over. It continues to expand its reach, with products in every corner of the globe and investments in emerging markets like health sciences and plant-based foods. But its legacy is undeniably shadowed by the controversies of its past, from the formula scandal and the water grab to the child labor accusations. It's a story of a company that built an empire by any means necessary, a company that still shapes what we eat, drink, and consume daily, often at the cost of the world's most vulnerable populations. And so, as you reach for that chocolate bar or bottle of water, remember, Nestle's history isn't just one of success. It's a history of exploitation, scandal, and profit at any cost. If you found this story interesting, I know you will love the video on screen now about the greatest business rivalry of all time. Uber versus Lyft. Tap the video now to watch. See you there.